It's the end of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, I'm here in downtown Chicago at Impact Marketing's high rise. What a beautiful facility this is. There is a video of that. Aaron walks around the facility, and I recommend you all watch that. But I wanted to visit with the marketing team and really understand what this team's doing, because they're definitely came way out of the box of a technology company and built this phenomenal marketing business that a lot of our friends are interested in. So I'm going to let these executives introduce themselves and tell you what they do at Impact Marketing. We'll start with that. I'm going to start over here with you, LK.
Hello, I'm LK Mahmood. My role on the team is kind of heading up the new business team, which they do the paid assessments on the marketing side. So we really go in, we do a deep understanding of what that consumer cares about, what is happening in the market, what the competitors are doing, and then we're able to use that to craft an initial strategy and a plan to then, when we partner with the client, they come on board, we can execute on that straight away and start really seeing results because we've got all of that research backing it.
And when someone from the sales team goes out and they present to the customer the marketing concept and the customer says, okay, we're interested, then they come to you and you orchestrate the whole assessment process and price it.
Absolutely, yes. And it's actually Bailey's responsibility to bring that to us. And it's very much a collaboration between our two teams, but I'm sure she'll talk about that when
Well, let's just jump over there to Bailey.
Perfect, yeah. I'm Bailey Kennedy. I am the Business Development Manager for Impact Managed Marketing. And my role is really to oversee a team of consultants that do work directly with the sales team to facilitate the sales cycle, to advise clients or prospective clients on how we could potentially assist them from a marketing perspective, and then to move them into that phase of assessment or help guide them to that assessment phase where we engage with LK's team to really be that true consultant to them and help build strategies and roadmaps for them to see success through marketing.
And do you drive that initiative through all the 16 offices of Impact and all?
Correct, okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So all the sales reps that are going out into the marketplace are selling all the managed services that the company offers, right?
Absolutely.
And if it's a marketing service, it pushes over to you. And just so everybody knows that, Impact Networking has about 5 different managed services, ERP, they also have cybersecurity, IT services, and then of course managed print. Managed marketing obviously is the most out of the box, and it's just intriguing for me personally to hear this story. Anthony, let's shoot it over to you.
Absolutely. So my name is Anthony Cucco. I lead the client services team, and there's a couple core responsibilities. So first and foremost, keeping the clients happy, making sure that our customers are consistently satisfied. Secondly, making sure that we're profitable on the deals that Bailey's team sells, making sure that we're executing the projects on time, and then making sure that overall we're doing everything that Bailey's team sets us up for in the scope of work.
Awesome. Kevin?
So my name is Kevin Meyer. I'm our Director of Marketing Strategy and Operations. After it goes through all of that, my team is looking at, first and foremost, the consumer. Our first objective is maintaining a market orientation that is directed at the consumer and what they want and what they need, that obsession. And it's helping us understand them, helping us understand competitors, and helping us understand some of the driving mechanics of the category, the market that our client is in, so that we can then create strategies and media plans that will direct time and resources and effort at things that really matter for that business and have a high likelihood of driving positive outcomes for that client.
Well, when you think about marketing, and obviously there's all different verticals. It could be a sportswear store to a law firm, if you will. So do you have a team of experts here for these different verticals, or how do you put all that together?
So we have differing, and Bailey could tell you even more about this than I could, but we have differing numbers of clients across actually a very wide array of verticals. What we do here, we train everyone on the strategy and operations team and the new business strategy team to have the fundamental skills and qualifications and resources that they need to go in and understand very quickly any industry, any consumer base. So I've worked across 90 plus different clients while I've been here, everything from repairing rail cars to fintech companies to companies that sell meat online. So the mechanics of how we learn and how we get the information we need, and then how we use that to drive productive work, those don't change. So equipping our teams with what they need in order to do that and setting them up to learn very quickly. They're very smart, very driven people, and they've demonstrated an excellent capacity to very quickly become functional experts no matter what the industry or the category
Well,
is.
they work at Impact, so I don't, I think that's just a given for everybody. Anthony, you did a video not too long ago, I believe I saw it on LinkedIn, and you're talking about the customer journey and how that journey has changed over decades, if you will. But in this last decade, we've seen a buyer's journey change drastically. Could you share some thoughts on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, really what I was talking about specifically in that video isn't necessarily about the buyer's journey, but the ability to track the buyer's journey. Because when we're talking to current clients or prospects, really their number one goal is to get an understanding of the return on investment that we're able to bring them through marketing. And it's very difficult to understand the return on investment and attribute which tactics are driving different results if you don't understand what led the buyer to conversion. So somebody can look at a billboard and then read a blog post, then go and look at your social media page, then have a salesperson email them and do all of these different things. But the final conversion might be them just filling out a form and you say, okay, it was attributed to the website, but that doesn't really give you the full picture. So really what Kevin and LK and Bailey and I are trying to do now is leverage technology to allow us to be able to track how people are going through that journey so that we could come to our clients and say, social media drove 10% of the weight of the revenue based off this conversion, the blog did this percentage, and so on and so forth.
Well, it seems to be pretty amazing because if you look at marketing or advertising, if you will, even 15 years ago, there was really no way to define the ROI because, how do you know if somebody saw the billboard on the highway kind of thing? And with the technology today, so it sounds like you guys are mastering those tools pretty well.
Yeah, it's definitely top of mind for every company and every marketing organization out there is how do you get data to your clients on what's working and what isn't working, and that's the forefront for us as well.
Do you share these ROIs with the executives that are out there selling customers so they understand what maybe ABC company did and they can explain that?
Yeah, a huge part of my team's responsibilities is being able to tell that story to the sales team, to that 100-person team that is out there every single day talking to clients and is really the face of impact to our clients. And so in order to facilitate those conversations, my team is really charged with making sure that they're aware of those success stories, that they know how to really message that to the client and why it's impactful for our clients as well.
Awesome. LK, what's the close ratio on the assessment? So if a customer says, hey, I agree to do this assessment, how many of those do you actually close?
So we've gone through a transition period right now where we've actually drastically shifted what the assessment is, and that has changed a lot. I think there's been some internal shifts as well, from a personnel, team, leadership perspective. So Bailey, you may be more apt to speak to that close rate, but I will say that the changes that we've made internally to that assessment is bringing significantly more value, not only to the client in understanding how marketing is going to drive towards their business goals, but it's also then setting the team up, Kevin's team, Anthony's team, the creative team, to make sure that the work that we're doing is significantly more effective off the bat.
If you have a rep that obviously they're selling all these different deliverables that Impact has and they turn out to be a really awesome marketing rep, do you allow them to stay in that field or do they have to kind of do everything?
Yeah, I think that is a really interesting career path because, as you know, Impact is a huge hire and promote from within type of organization. It's part of our culture and it's really ingrained in what we do. And so, yes, my goal would be to identify any rep that has an interest in marketing and work with that person to really carve out that career path of what makes sense for them. If they're interested in marketing, I think that absolutely should be part of the conversation to see if a consultant role or a specialist role is right for them. And it's a great kind of trajectory to take in a career as well. And I kind of speak from personal experience with that, coming from the sales team and kind of working my way up through that process and then transitioning to marketing is a great way to build a career for sure.
Well, it just seems cool that you could come to work at a technology company. Maybe that's what your purpose was when you started. and then evolve into a marketing executive.
Yeah.
What an opportunity that is.
Absolutely, and I think the conversations we have with the ILI team, doing a lot of that training, when people hear about the power of marketing and they truly get to understand it, not thinking about these tactical executions, they get so excited because they're like, wow, I had no idea the power that marketing had for businesses. And so I can absolutely see when they get exposed to that, the desire to transition into the marketing area.
Do you all help the salespeople understand consumers better from the marketing side? I mean, when I grew up in the business, we're schlepping equipment up and down the street. So we knew the customer, we knew all the features, advantage, benefits. We could recite all that for a specific product.
Yeah.
But with the changes in the environment, especially around marketing, it seems like this is a great opportunity for Impact to be able to take this expertise and share it with people that are out there selling IT service, an example, how those customers are going through maybe a journey or how we can look at data to determine how ripe they are for one of the delivers with the other.
Yeah, and I think, we've been working with the internal marketing department at Impact to really outline what that journey looks like, understand truly what that customer cares about. And so just as we're doing it for our clients, the internal marketing team is doing it for us. We've got to practice what we preach, and we understand that that's so valuable to be able to get business for our clients. So we need to make sure that we're doing that too.
In your IT deliverable, Anthony, there is a kind of a limit customer, I call it a persona. We're going after a certain type of customer, one that can afford to be engaged to begin with. Do you have that same, rule base for the marketing team? Is there a certain customer you won't really go after from a price point?
Yeah, and I think I could actually defer to Bailey on that one.
Yeah, so we certainly have defined kind of an ideal client profile, but that's not to say that that's the only client profile that we can effectively engage with. But I think most of the time our effectiveness really is driven when a business, it's more of a mindset than it is kind of limitations on the business. When they see marketing as a true investment that it is, when they're really investing in marketing in order to facilitate growth within their organization. And then also a huge problem that we solve for businesses in the small to medium sized space is bandwidth issues. So when businesses have a limit on marketing resources internally, they look to outside parties to really help facilitate that, and we become a really powerful partner for those types of organizations that are looking to grow, that are looking to achieve their goals, but just don't have the resources to do it.
Awesome. As part of the assessment process, do you interview the client's customers at all?
Yes, absolutely.
Part of the assessment?
Yes, that's going back to what I said about the shift that we've made. That's an addition that we now have as a part of the assessment. And we will say it's a limited number because we want to make sure that that assessment process is still within the time frame that the client is looking for it, which is about a month. Okay. So there are some limitations, but we need that sample size at the beginning just to get that base level of understanding. And most of the time, the information that we gather from there is pretty accurate. But then what we do when we actually create that scope of work is we make sure that we include additional consumer interviews. We do some panels to get that quantitative side of things. And that's where Kevin's team comes in and really executes on that and make sure they do a very deep understanding of the consumer.
And that process on the assessment side of studying the consumer and collecting that direct information, that's a system and an approach that was developed by the new business team and the strategy and operations team together. So what you experience in the assessment is going to be very consistent with what you experience after you hire us on for a longer term partnership. And to LK's point, the difference that you're going to get once you hire us on, it comes down to volume. Your sample size is going to increase. That means the reliability of the information we get is going to increase as well. And our ability to segment and create consumer funnels that we can then do targeting and positioning and channel planning off of is just going to get that much better. You have a really good way of describing, LK, the level of clarity that you're aiming to create with the kind of surface dive that you all do. Leave it to you to explain that, but I know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are really looking to make sure we understand a little bit about what that consumer cares about. Obviously, that's important because that really shifts where they may be showing up. It shifts a little bit how we need to message off the bat. But really, kind of one of the main goals is to identify what that consumer journey is, going back to our conversations at the beginning and the importance of that, so that we can track how they are moving through an attribute, but also just to make sure that when we're actually doing marketing, we're in front of them, we're showing up in the right places. And a lot of our clients, sometimes they're showing up in the right places, but sometimes they're not. They're missing opportunities, and that's what we can do in the assessment, is identify, hey, maybe your competitors are showing up here and you're not. That's a missed opportunity. We want to make sure that we're moving into that space. So
most of your agreements are long-term. I mean, you're looking for customers to commit to you, you
Yes.
commit to them. I think of it this way: when you sign the customer on, you took a picture of the environment or your scope of work, if you will. And I mean, things change over 3 or 4 years or 5 years. How do you manage the time in the account against the account receivable of the account, if you will? Because it could get crazy. I mean, something could change drastically in the business in year 2, and all of a sudden they're demanding more of your time. Do you go in and adjust the pricing, or I mean, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, that's part of the sales process, is telling the client that things are going to change, whether it's because your business changes or the marketing industry changes. There's new technology that could help you more. So I think that ultimately our goal is to change the scope of work throughout the partnership, because we do 3 to 5 years, like you said, and if things aren't changing, then that means our clients aren't evolving and becoming competitive in their own space.
There's also, to add on to that a little bit, when the new business team goes in and talks to consumers and looks at competitors and drafts that initial statement of work with the sales team, what they're doing is they're primarily setting us up so that we're not just throwing money into the wind for the first 6 months. Because within the first 6 months, we're gonna be able to get the volume that we talked about with the consumer research. We're gonna be able to deepen that competitive audit, and we're gonna be able to really firm up a lot of things that, the assessment is an incredible product. At the end of the day, it's still only a month. We're gonna be able to actually take strategists and turn them into the beginning of subject matter experts in your industry, and we're going to be able to go and gut check a lot of the initial work they did. What they allow us to do and what the assessment allows us to do is start doing things that can make a difference for your business immediately. So you don't wait 6 months for us to start creating campaigns or putting assets in market. We get to start doing that right away when we start working with you, which I know is hugely valuable to all of our clients. And then to Anthony's point, we have quarterly reporting, and twice a year we have what we call a PBR, a periodic business review. And we treat each of those PBRs almost like, and you can talk more about this, but just to set it up, we treat them almost like a mini assessment. Okay. We're gonna go in and look at, hey, we sold you this statement of work with the intention of delivering a desired outcome for your business. How do we think it's doing? Do we think it's worth it? And how do we need to modify that relationship contractually and within the scope of work so that, again, effort is going where it really makes a difference, but you can go deeper on that piece for sure.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately data drives all of that. So Kevin's team and my team work very closely on those periodic business reviews, because it's really Kevin's team that's laying out, here's what worked and what didn't work over the last 6-month period, for example. Then once we determine that maybe we do need to shift the strategy based on what we're seeing in the market, then we bring in the rest of the team and we brainstorm and we come up with new ideas. And then my team really brings that new scope of work to life that we put in front of the client. And sometimes that's just adding on additional services for an additional cost. Sometimes that's doing change orders and actually swapping things out for other tactics within the scope of work. And those are usually that usually happens multiple times throughout a year.
You guys are really big in social media space, really big with video as the team here today. Do you see a lot of fantastic results around the social media space, whether that's Facebook or, I think you had a story of the pizza place that, did a Facebook ad and it turned out really wild. Are customers seeing the benefit of that because maybe they didn't understand social media? Is that a big takeaway for a customer when they do business with you?
So I think that goes back to the consumer. It would be beneficial, it could be fantastic, it just depends on how that consumer shops. And also, social media can come to play in many different ways. We can do ads on social media for awareness, but then we also know that it could potentially be used for a conversion depending on where that kind of tool or that tactic plays within their journey. So I think yes, social media can be fantastic. It can be a tool for many different reasons, but it very much depends on that consumer.
Yeah, it can, you were asking about results and outcomes. I think in my head, I was kind of smiling as you were finishing the question because, if I had led in, I would have said, well, it depends, which I know is a classic response there, right? But to LK's point, it depends entirely, again, on that consumer and how they shop and also what the objectives of the organization are. Are we trying to capture demand that exists now? These are people who are looking to find a solution and buy it in the short term, so within the next 1 to 3 months, or are we talking about cultivating future demand over a longer time period, like earning space in people's heads as opposed to space like in a search engine, for instance? And to her point about awareness, social media is usually going to be one of our better like top of funnel awareness tools. It's going to help us get in people's brains and win their memory, and there are other platforms that are going to be better for that shorter term outcome that we're looking for of a sales conversion or something like that. And I think it is really about looking at social in the context of your business and your category and your consumer and your market, and then asking that hard question of, what are we trying to accomplish on a bigger scale, and then why do we actually want to be on social media? Do we want to be on social media because our friend who also owns a business is on social media, or do we want to be there because we believe it's actually, because they're going to spend money. They're going to spend money to be on social media. So, and we always push our teams we push them constantly, like, don't think of it as the client's money, think of it as our money. Imagine you work for this company. Imagine you're spending your revenue to get more revenue. Is this where you would put it? Why would you put it there? There's a pretty high level of justification that we push both the strategy and operations and the new business team to satisfy when they're going to go in, for instance, and say we should be on Facebook or we should be on Instagram. They're going to have to very much like prove that to actually all the people at this table before they're able to even go pitch it to a client in an assessment. But
do you get the client buy-in pretty easy, or do you have to fight with them? Look, you got to trust us. You hired us. We're doing it this way. Here's our process.
I think it depends. I will speak only from a new business perspective. Obviously, you two can speak from that post-sale client partnership perspective. But I think it's really on us, our teams, to be able to educate the client through the sales process on the value of marketing for their business. And so I think the better job we do at that, the better that they are going to react, and the more likely they'll be like, wow, absolutely, I need to do this for my business. Okay. And so I think that's what it comes down to.
Bailey, if you have a sales rep out there and they get the assessment, you sold the assessment, you got the scope of work, they engaged with the company for marketing, say it's a 5-year contract, does that sales rep go to all the quarterly reviews, or how often do you all review with a customer? I mean, do they show up to all of that? Are they part of this engagement for the term?
Yeah, I think it's important to have a level of consistency with that. While we completely trust and hand over everything to the account team in terms of the day-to-day management and executing on the scope of work and all of that, at the same token, that sales rep or the specialist, it's important that they stay involved, because at the very start, they started that conversation and led to building a scope of work that is now put in place. And so we want to add a level of responsibility to that, to make sure that what they originally talked about with the client is still improving that client's business and is still working for them long term. And so we engage heavily with the account team to maintain that level of consistency, and then also to look out for other opportunities that might add value to the client in other areas that Impact offers.
Anthony, maybe you could answer this question so we can share with the community out there, really what the contract size is of your engagement. Could you share a little bit about what's the smallest one, and then maybe if you had some really big home runs?
Yeah, let me tell you a story on that one.
Okay.
So I interned with this department 5 years ago, and the big change that was happening was that we were going from free assessments where Kevin's team and LK's predecessor back in the day would have put together all of this work for free, and they were changing that to a minimum of a $3,000 assessment. And then a couple months later, they changed that to $5,000. And now, from an assessment standpoint, today we're closing $30,000+ assessments.
Okay.
And I would also add that when I was in sales 2 years ago, a large deal for us would have been $5,000 a month over a 60-month contract. And I think we closed our biggest deal ever recently, which was $31,000 a month for 60 months. So I think that just shows how quickly we're elevating the level of investments that clients are making with us. And we're consistently trying to get larger and larger clients. But I would circle back to the question you asked earlier about if clients are combating the strategies that we're trying to implement for them. And I would add that for me, from a client services standpoint, I don't necessarily care if you're paying $10,000 a month or $30,000 a month, as long as you're a believer in marketing and you're on board with what we're trying to recommend for clients, because we've canceled contracts before for people that are just trying to combat every single thing we bring to the table. And those aren't the types of clients that we want to have. We want to have people that are really looking to invest in their company across the board and be a true partner with us. Otherwise, it's not really worth it.
Well, it's almost, the assessment proves that out.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's going to invest in that, and I'm glad you're charging for them, because no one should give anything away, so that was a good thing. But at the end of the day, no one's going to engage with a company, spend $30,000 for an assessment, and probably be the wrong person.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's probably weeds out a lot of the
It does.
riff-raff, if you will.
It's a great tool for that as well.
Well, man, you guys are doing amazing things. You know, All of Impact does amazing things, and that's great to share their story. Is there anything anybody wants to add before we end this? We'll start over there with you, LK.
I mean, I think I'm just excited about the opportunities that we have to grow this business. I think marketing is such an exciting industry. We are constantly learning. Every single person here is doing some sort of professional development to make sure that we're constantly staying on top of everything that's going on. So, I mean, I think just kind of look out. Like, we're going to be doing great things. We're going to be growing some businesses. So we're really excited about it. Yeah.
I would add that to expand it, if it feels like we are working with a purpose, I just want to say that it's because we are, as a leadership team. We have made it a very intentioned effort to be leading with a sense of purpose and managing by very clear objectives with the people that work with us every day. We have some very specific objectives. Among them are to be, undeniably the best small and medium business marketing firm in at least the Midwest, if not Chicago, ideally within the next 3-ish years. So the things we're doing every day, it's not random. We're not doing it by accident. We're not chasing fires. It's a very purposeful, intentional, everyday effort to move us towards a much bigger vision for managed marketing as a very serious resource to small and medium-sized businesses who we know are the underdogs in the economy and the market that we operate in, and also to be a very significant contributor to the impact system in general, in terms of what we generate for that larger business that we're a part of.
Well, Kevin, you can't go anywhere at Impact and not recognize the discipline and not recognize the attention to detail. So I mean, you're spot on with your assessment there. Anthony?
Yeah, and going off of the impact system, I feel like the reason why we've been super successful over the last year or so, when we made a lot of big changes, is because part of the priority that we've made is on our employees. And just like the rest of Impact, the goal is to have really purpose-driven, happy employees that like coming to work every day. And I think it's rare nowadays to have people that work in an office every day. But I mean, I come in every day and I love being at work. And I think that that's something that's consistent across the board, and people are happy and excited. And that's what's helped to create better partnerships with our clients. And it really reflects on those.
Well, when you walk through this beautiful facility, you can see the camaraderie, and I don't think you could do any of that remote, to be quite honest with you. No. I mean, there are some things you can do remote, but marketing and collaboration around marketing, probably not. Bailey?
Yeah, I would just add that the motto for Impact for this year is one team, and it's really cool to see every employee within this department, but also outside of it, really grab on to that motto and bring it to life in such a unique way. And it really kind of points to what the three of them have just explained, which is just the culture of Impact being really focused on collaboration and really goal-driven when it comes to knowing that every single employee is building towards something, and collectively we'll be able to achieve our goals as a team, both professionally, personally, and then also company-wide goals if we work together and we collaborate. And I think that is just a really cool message for the year.
Well, my friends, impact networking is changing the market in so many different areas. It's always exciting to share their story because everybody watching me knows this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and we'll see y'all later.